Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Problemista.
Well, that was a movie.
Problemista is by first-time writer-director Julio Torres, who also stars in the film along with Tilda Swinton. It premiered last year in March at South by Southwest, but is now finally getting a theatrical run, although a limited one, so it's kind of hard to find. If you're interested in seeing it, you might have to go to a local art house theater to find it. It's not going to be playing at like your local AMC, most likely, unfortunately. If you missed the trailer, you don't know what it's about or what it looks like. It looked like a indie film, kind of like an artsy film in the same vein as Michel Gondry or Spike Jonze, Charlie Kaufman, think Being John Malkovich, something like that. That's what the trailer made it look like, with some really interesting imagery. But it's also simultaneously about a guy who's from El Salvador who's moved to America to pursue his dream of working at Hasbro and designing toys, but he has to deal with the whole problem of securing a work visa and all of the stupid politics that are involved in it. I had been anticipating this movie. I remember it coming up for some reason, the trailer on YouTube or Instagram or something, and I saw it last year. Like I said, it was at the film festivals last year, and I was really excited for it and really wanted to see it, and then I didn't get to see it because it didn't really come out until now. And if it had come out last year, I think this would have been in my top 5 favorite movies of last year. It was that good. But I will also say it's not perfect, and it's also definitely a niche audience. Like I mentioned, it's weird, it's indie, it's artsy. That's my kind of thing though, and I enjoyed that. I will also say, like I said, it is a first-time writer-director. This guy, he's written some other stuff. I saw that he wrote something for SNL, it looked like, but this was his first time directing a movie as well as writing his own movie, so it definitely was a big step up for him, and there was a lot to be asked in that regard. And I will say it wasn't as finely formed, it wasn't as perfectly curated. I feel like it wasn't as soundly made as a Michel Gondry or Charlie Kaufman or Spike Jonze movie. A lot of what their style is absolute perfection, almost like Wes Anderson levels attention to detail, and this movie didn't feel like that. This movie definitely felt low budget. It felt a little bit off kilter, and that is part of its charm. I think the low budget feel to it, the indie feel to it, is part of what makes this movie so enjoyable, but it also definitely felt like a rookie endeavor, and that's not wholly a bad thing. It was still very enjoyable, but I'm just saying it's not a perfect film. There was things about it that I felt was rough around the edges. I did think this movie was enjoyable, very funny, very quirky, very original. Like I've said, seen this kind of imagery done before, but I've never seen it done with this kind of story and these kind of characters. There is a chance though that you may not be wholly invested in these characters. I was definitely invested in the plot and what the characters were going through, but the characters themselves, I had a hard time kind of like bonding with, hard time caring about, but because the plot was so interesting and so well written, I was invested in the characters because of what they were going through, not because of the characters themselves, if that makes sense. Tilda Swinton, a lot of people have already talked about her in this movie being fantastic. Once again, if this movie had come out last year during the height of award season, I think she would have been nominated for a Golden Globe. This coming out as early as it is in this year, typically that means that there's not going to be any awards or nominations even, but I wouldn't be shocked if she was nominated. She was very, very good in this. It was one of the best performances of her career in my mind. All around, it was good. I would give it a 7, a solid 7. Like I said, it's not perfect. There was definitely some issues with it, but they're all pretty small, and it's a very unique, very interesting looking movie. I love the sense of humor of it. I love the quirkiness of it, and it's just one of those movies that, like, if you were into that weird, quirky indie style that's really popular right now, then this is another one for you. It's not the best, it's not the worst you'll see, it's just another one, and it's a solid one by a new filmmaker that could be somebody to look forward to in the future. I had never heard about him before this movie, so now I'm excited to see what he's going to do next. That being said, I am going to get into spoilers for a little bit here now, so if you don't want anything spoiled, you should go check it out. I think it's worth it, so look into whatever art house theater near you is playing it and check it out, or I'm sure it'll be on streaming eventually, but I definitely think it's worth taking the time to go and see. So go ahead and click away now. Thanks guys, bye. So So, spoilers. I think my biggest takeaway from this movie, aside from that it was quirky and enjoyable, was the ending was a little lackluster for me. A lot of these movies, I just, the quirkiness is enough to get you by and you really enjoy it, like being John Malkovich, how weird and interesting that imagery is, and this kind of taps into that. You see in the trailer, you know, him moving through the maze of office spaces, and that's what really made me think of being John Malkovich, was that imagery. But this movie, I kind of, by the end of it, I was kind of done with what they had to offer. It was like, it was a really unique perspective, but it was also just not imaginative enough. They didn't do enough with the good idea, and so by the end of the movie, it's only like 90 minutes. By the end of the movie, I was kind of like, all right, and I'm done, and I'm ready to move on. As much as I enjoyed it, I did enjoy it a lot. Like, I gave it a 7, and I meant that. I just don't know how quickly I'd want to go back and watch it again. There was something about it that I was just over it by the end. And maybe it is the characters, because Tilda Swinton's character is pretty irredeemable, and they do kind of do some stuff to make her a little bit more likable as it goes, but the whole point of her character is how unlikable and how unreasonable she is. The whole character is kind of just an example, an amalgamation of this annoying type of person you may meet in life, and she's just that to the nth degree. She's over the top annoying, and so it's hard to be invested or care about her when they do kind of flip it on its head and make her a little bit more interesting or a little bit more likable, supposedly. And then the main character, I am interested in his plight. I care about what he's going through, but there were certain things where I'm just like, I don't know if I like him. Like, there was this moment where he's talking to his mom on the phone. She's back in El Salvador, he's in New York, and they're going back and forth, and he's kind of just dismissive of her and what she's going through, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I didn't like that moment. There's this whole thing at the end of the movie where her whole thing is she's obnoxious to get what she wants. And so she tells him, like, you gotta be a little bit more obnoxious because he's too timid. And I get it. You need to be somewhere in the middle. You need to be polite. You need to be nice. You need to be friendly. But you also need to know when to stand up for yourself and take what's yours and whatever. And the point of this is that he developed an idea, came up with an idea for the toy company that they ended up taking and using without crediting him or hiring him. And so he goes and demands a job, and it's like, okay, I get what you're going for, and that take what you want and take what you deserve, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, that's not how the real world works. He's like trying to blackmail this guy into getting a job. That's not how it would work. If anything, you would blackmail him into getting money or threaten to sue him, but you're not going to get hired by this place. You're not, because if you tried, they would either just refuse or they would hire you and then find a reason to fire you. So it's like you don't have leverage in this situation, at least not that kind of leverage. You have leverage into a possible lawsuit. If you can prove it, which would be hard, you could try to get some money out of it, but you're not getting a job out of it. That's not how it works. So or at least I don't think it would. So I kind of felt like the ending fell flat a little bit. And then, so basically, Tilda Swinton's character puts herself to sleep. She freezes herself so that she can be brought back 300 years in the future. And he ends up, after his life is almost done, like he's an old man now, he does it to meet up with her again 300 years later. And it's like, why would you? Like, if I knew this woman, sure, I would kind of have some fond memories of her for, you know, the life lessons and the moments we shared. I would never want to see her again, though. It just didn't make sense to me. I had a hard time, like I said, bonding with these characters. So the ending, not only was I kind of over the movie by the end of it, but I just didn't buy the ending. So that's where it fell flat for me. But like I said, before that, the quirkiness of it, this movie's a comedy, so there's a lot of levity in everything that's happening, but there's also a darkness to it and a sadness to it. You really feel that, like the struggle that he's going through, so many things just don't work out for him, and it's so frustrating, and you feel for him because of that. The movie did a really good job, I think, of balancing the drama and the comedy, because it wasn't overbearing in either way. This movie could have been really depressing, really sad with all the things that were going wrong, and that was just really frustrating. Or it could have been just a really silly comedy, but it didn't do either. It managed to hold on to both aspects of the film and make both sides of it work and be a compelling story that was also very funny. Definitely check it out. I think it's definitely worth the price of admission. If you're parking in Philly, I had a hard time. So there's like a kiosk here, and you're supposed to go up to the kiosk, put in your license plate, and pay the ticket, or pay the parking thing, and it wouldn't take my card. So I was like, okay, there's something wrong with my card. So I try my other card. I try my debit card instead. Not taking that either. I'm like, okay, so there's something wrong with the machine. But they let you take a picture of like a QR code, and you can go and pay there. I go there, and you're supposed to say, all right, what kiosk you're at. So I type it in, and it's like, nope, not accepting that. I tried it a million times. Triple, double, quadruple checked the sign, making sure I was at the right place, and it just wouldn't accept it. So I had to download the app, and by the time I downloaded the app and put in all my information and paid, I was a little bit late for the movie, so I'm a little annoyed, but I don't think I missed anything important. I walked in as the word Problemista came up on the screen, so maybe I missed a couple minutes. So I do, total transparency, if that first couple of minutes dramatically changes my opinion of this movie, I'm sorry. Missed it, but overall good experience, even if Philly parking sucks. So yeah, that's what I did think. Thanks for watching, guys. What did you think of the movie? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.